Coming up this weekend, we have Turbo versus Dragon in a battle of competitive dance teams or highly talented bantamweights. And listen, for Mexico's Alejandro Perez, this is a long time, where are you at type of guy, because it was just really, really weird. I mean, I was sitting doing my notes for this fight, and I was listening to the Hair Metal Essentials playlist that was on Apple Music, and the song that came on was I Remember You by Skid Row. And listen, I'm a Sebastian Bach guy. I mean, he was on Trailer Park Boys. They were trying to have the train convention in Maine, Dirty Old Skowhegan, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to that song, I would think that way about Alejandro Perez. This is a guy that won the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 of Latin America in 2014. The headliner of that card, UFC 180, his coach, Cain Velasquez, like, that was a big, big deal. And for Perez, after that fight, he would go on to go 7-1-1 and then have a 2-fight losing streak and just be gone forever, it seemed. And I mean, you look at the losses, Cody Stamann, where he's able to defend all of the takedowns, all 8 of them, and they strike. And then his next time out, he gets finished in the first round against Sung Yadong. And those fights were just months apart. That was kind of the crazy part about it. Like, Perez was really looking to just continue to ride the wave of momentum. And this is a guy, he had a performance of the night against Ian Entwistle. Huge win there. And then he just takes this a long time away. And I would have thought for a guy that's pretty well in his physical prime, hey, we're going to want to hit the road or hit the ground running. But he took the time away. So he makes his second time out, and it's been so much time. I can't stress that enough. He takes on Johnny Eduardo, Brazil's David Ortiz, because who the hell knows how old Johnny Eduardo is? Different sites say he's 43, different sites say he's in his 30s. I don't know. I haven't seen the birth certificate, but what I can tell you is that in Alejandro Perez's walk out, it's mentioned that he's been at AKA. He's been at AKA since he met Cain Velasquez. He's been there forever, and Daniel Cormier pipes up and says, yeah, he's been at AKA, but for this camp, he's been away. And in this time away, he spent time away from his family, time away from his gym. He's worked on his wrestling with a wrestling coach. He's really gone soul-searching. And you know what, Matt? It paid off in his last fight. Like, yeah, he did get caught a little bit on the feet, threw a nice right hook that kind of started to swell up Johnny Eduardo. And in the second round, how many submissions have we ever seen where you use your legs to submit a guy's arm? It's not often that you do see that. But for Perez, looked really good on the ground, but primarily known as a bang-up type of striker. Like, a lot of fun.
I was going to say he fights like a better version of Enrique Barzola, then I realized if you don't know who Alejandro Perez is, you definitely don't know who Enrique Barzola is.
They train together.
They do, but you see what I mean. Good volume striking on the feet, can use the wrestling offensively and defensively if things do go south on the feet. But my issue with Perez is when he throws punches, he is very susceptible to the counter strike. Like, we even saw that against Johnny Eduardo, and that's why I disagree with you a little bit about him looking better in the Eduardo fight, because it's something we bring up a lot, how sometimes you can look better in a loss, and sometimes you can look worse in a win. I thought Alejandro Perez didn't look all that great in that win against Johnny Eduardo, because, let's be honest, Johnny Eduardo, even at his prime, was barely a top 15 fighter, and he is nowhere near his prime anymore. So to me, for Perez to look good against Eduardo, but still get pieced up on the feet a little bit, it does give me cause for concern, especially when you're going in there against a guy like Jonathan Martinez, who, yes, we understand what the faults are of Jonathan Martinez, but Martinez in his best version has phenomenal volume striking, a really good kicking repertoire. He has very diverse kicks. He has good front kicks, good roundhouse kicks too from both sides. And that's the thing about Jonathan Martinez. Offensively, I would say that there are a few fighters who can match him on the feet with their volume striking. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but he really does have great offensive striking on the feet. The problem is, himself, just like Alejandro Perez, is susceptible to getting hit by the counter shot. So to me, I look at this fight and think, okay, who's more likely to land the one big shot on the feet? Perez has okay power, but as we saw against Johnny Eduardo, he doesn't really have that one-punch knockout power with his hands or his feet. With Jonathan Martinez, listen, I'm not going to try to sell you a picture saying he hits like Chaos Williams, but he does have good finishing ability on the feet and on the mat, and that's why I do find myself siding with Martinez. But this is what I think is so important about this fight. It's make or break for both guys. I mentioned this earlier on when we had this in the Fight of the Night screen. For Perez, was in the top 15, was a hyped up prospect at one point, but like you said, he's been cursed by inactivity. He did have a few bad losses, the Sung Yadong one being really, really bad. Like, that's a tough knockout to suffer, but he didn't do himself any favors. It's like Ben Simmons, he had that really bad series against Atlanta. It just went into hiding. Like, if he came back, had a good preseason, maybe had a good start to the season, people would kind of forget what happened in the playoffs. If Perez came back after that Song Yadong loss, fought another guy sort of around his ranking, then maybe we would look at him in a different light, and maybe we would have a different second half to his career. I just don't put a lot of stock into his win over Johnny Eduardo, and I do think he's going to struggle a lot at range in this matchup with Jonathan Martinez.
Alejandro Perez took almost 2.5 years off between the Song Yadong loss and the win over Johnny Eduardo, and this is a guy that walks out to Believer by Imagine Dragons. Now, Road FC's Jae Hyuk-hyo absolutely owns that song. Unless you sing it on the way into the cage, I don't trust you. For Perez, I go through and I watch the tape. These are some of the things that you need to look out for because it really is weird. I mean, he holds his hands up really high like a Thai stance, leaves his body completely open. Jonathan Martinez from Southpaw rips kicks to the body. Like, I think of Martinez in a similar light to a guy like a Jourdain, who he's going to rip those kicks. They're going to go to the legs. They're going to go to the body. He can whip them up to the head. I love that out of that Southpaw look that I have from Martinez. But another one of those things, again, really good takedown defense for Perez. I don't think we're going to see that out of Martinez. If anybody's going to wrestle, I would see it as Perez. Jonathan Martinez, not a bad defensive wrestler, but when you're going to Factory X Muay Thai, you're not necessarily going to try and accentuate your wrestling game. Obviously, you're going to have some looks from Alexander Hernandez, kind of in the similar weight class, so to speak. Yikes. But when it does come down to this fight, I mean, I do look at it. For Martinez, it's been a mixed bag, right? Because you look at the losses, loses to Andre Sukumtoth coming in on relatively short notice, very, very unknown commodity at that point. He has that fight against Andre Ewell where the judges scored it 29-28, or 30-27 and 29-28 for Andre Ewell on MMA decisions. 12 scored at 29-28 Martinez, 1 scored at 30-27 Martinez. That was that crazy Joe Solis in Houston. Probably shouldn't be a judge, but that one happened. But then Martinez's awful critical flaw of a loss was against Davey Garcia, who went right hook to the body, and as Martinez brings his hands down, it's left hook to the head and drops him. So, again, Perez is one of those guys, he loves to throw the hooks to the body, and it's a part of his game that I really do like. Perez is also a guy that from range, he will throw just a straight shot to the body to try and give a different look. I think in this fight he can get caught because Martinez is such a speedy striker. So I look at the odds for this fight. Perez open a plus 180, roughly still there. Martinez open a minus 220, roughly still there. We're going to look at the Tapology votes, Matt. I'm going to say over under 75% Martinez. What would you say?
I'll say over.
You're going to say over. Look at that. 581 total votes, 80% Martinez, 74% by decision for the 20% that have Perez, 70% by decision. I think this is going to be a great fight on the feet. I just like the speed and the volume out of Martinez in this one. But listen, I never miss an Alejandro Perez fight. What about his walkouts and his weigh-ins? Are they fun too?
He's just, like, listen, I can be awkward in social settings too, don't get me wrong. But, like, Alejandro Perez is out here, like, flexing at the camera, just like wearing sunglasses, taking them off, putting them on 19 times. It's just a little weird. And it's one of those things like, on question mark kicks, it's like, hey, how much did the weigh-in affect them? I have no idea if Alejandro Perez is the most drawn out man in the world, or if he's just like strange in front of the camera. So it always leaves me with a lot more questions than answers during his weigh-ins. Hopefully there's no confusion. My final pick is Jonathan Martinez, though. I think knees to the body and just his overall reactionary knees, because like you said, Perez does like going to the body, and that does leave his head open for Martinez to throw those knees up the middle. I think those are going to be a really big attack in this fight, so I'll pick Jonathan Martinez.
Big time opportunity. Will it be the career resurgence of a guy who does weigh-in day like Diego Sanchez, or will it be Jonathan Martinez who will not say a word at weigh-in day, let alone the entire week? So, an interesting fight coming up this weekend nonetheless in the best division in MMA. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have, and keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
let's get into it.